Welcome to Ethics. Introduction. There are questions to be answered that require an individual to understand the core of ethics, that is, the morality. For example, can an individual be moral enough if the law is a violation to oneself by nature? Can we be moral? Are moral judgments always true? Hence, analysis has been provided that those questions mentioned above are definitely unavoidable. This lesson will try to analyze the nature, object, function, importance, and scope and meaning of ethics. Learning objectives. At the end of this lesson, the students should be able to define ethics, understand the nature, objects, functions, and importance of ethics, discuss the scope of ethics, the nature of ethics. The other term for ethics is moral philosophy. The concept between good or evil and right or wrong are undeniably questionable. They must vary on a subjective judgment of an individual rather than the objective. What is ethics? According to Paul Glenn, ethics is a practical science of the morality of human conduct. Now, to explain further. Ethics is a science because it collects data that are known to be true, for example, moral obligations to others, do no harm, crime investigations, etc. It is called a practical science because the data presented is directly implied and have indicative directions for the human conduct, for example, road signs, products manuals, etc. It is the morality of the human conduct precisely because an act performed intentionally chosen with full freedom by an agent. In other words, whatever an agent wills with his or her own intentions are therefore an act of human conduct, for example, taking a bath, reading, eating, etc. It is the science of the morality of human conduct precisely because human conducts involve activities that provides the agent either an agreement or disagreement with a dictate of reason, for example, am I going to do this or not? Lastly, the word ethics comes from the Greek word ethos, which means a characteristic way of acting. Some of the authors translated ethos as way of life. Objects of ethics. Since ethics is a science, it must have its material object and a formal object. If the material object of science are the things to which it deals, then the material object of ethics is the human conduct. On the other hand, if the formal object of science is the way it deals with the material object, that is, the studying, then the formal object of ethics deals with the human conducts to determine or realize whether or not agree with the dictate of reason. In other words, a certain action of an agent, that is, with advertence, must be under investigation whether the act agrees according to what is necessary. Functions of ethics. The question arises in ethics is about its function. What is it all about? To understand and know the functions of ethics, one should understand the relation of it with other sciences such as logic, psychology, sociology, economics, and so on. Logic is a branch of philosophy that deals with the art of critical thinking or acquiring of right thinking. Ethics concern with the right living. According to Montaigne, doing follows thinking. This would mean that actions can only be right if and only if an agent aims at right doing before right thinking. In other words, one cannot act without aiming at rectitude. Psychology concerns with the soul, about man, human nature and behavior but not with the morality. Ethics is concerned with the obligations of man rather than the behavior. ought to something is the focus of ethics, since the aim of an agent is to rectify what needs to be rectified. Ethics is related to sociology for the purpose that harmony and order in the society must be established. Thus, a society is in chaos without valuing the purpose of peace and justice. Economically speaking, ethics has a large contribution to making man for a living. It functions as the bread in which man should not dwell on injustices but to live according to what is necessary economically. Thus, business ethics is formulated due to the relation between the employee-employer that concerns labor, wages, etc. Importance of ethics. The main reason why ethics is important because it is very useful in our day-to-day living. For example, A wanted to go to church but B invited A to play basketball. What would be the ethical decision of A? Is A will respond to the invitation of B or ignore B instead, and go to church? Such example has many implications, especially when an individual is in between the line of making a decision. According to Jeff Landauer and Joseph Rollins, ethics is a requirement for human life. In other words, in an individual day-to-day living, actions are aimless and senseless without it. One course of action needs to have a critical analysis before stepping into the realm of judgment, that is, the value of what is right or wrong and good or evil. Thus, actions without thinking are meaningless. One cannot achieve his or her goal if he or she does not foresee any consequences of such actions. Ethics have different fields. By its definition, according to Gensler 2018, it concerns reasoning about the big questions of morality. Hence, the two main branches of it are metaethics and normative ethics. The former is a science that deals with the study on the nature and methodology of moral judgment. For example, what do would and ought mean? Are there moral truths? The latter studies the happenings of one day-to-day living. Hence, according to Gensler, there are four main areas that attacks every claim: what actions we ought to do, what ends are intrinsically good, what character traits are virtuous, and what moral rights we have. References